Winkler.
I don't think Representative Downey quite caught my point. What I said is that you're only interested in comparing to the private sector when the private sector is down. You're not interested in comparing to the private sector when the private sector is up. You're tying it, you know, this would be like tying all future compensation of public employees to public compensation in the midst of the Great Depression. You know, you're picking a point in time without having any ongoing study to make a comparison, so that it ensures that public employees are permanently compared in wages and benefits to private employees when private employment has been at its worst in 60 years. You don't have any provision for a study to take place in 2 years and tie it to that. And I did not say that education and experience should be the only drivers for comparisons. I said that you didn't include them at all. So if you want to complain that some studies only look at experience and education, I would complain that your study only looks at the job function. It doesn't have any, make any accommodation for the other side of that equation. And I believe that as an employer, the state of Minnesota has consistently encouraged people to get better educated, better trained, to stick with the job for a long period of time, get experience. I think those are good things. And now your bill essentially wants to punish people for doing that by saying, now that you've made that investment and now that we've made that investment, we don't any longer want to tie your compensation to the investment that we've both made.
Mr. Chairman?
Representative Downey.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So a couple of things. Number one, this is a one-time reset, Representative Winkler, and beyond that, we haven't abrogated anything in the state complex. It basically says we've got a disconnect right now between what's happening in the public sector and everybody else's experience. So let's reset it, and then existing processes can perpetuate. So your assertion that somehow we're locking people into a Great Depression compensation level for the rest of their lives is certainly not intended. If you read my bill and somehow it does something different, we can work on language to address that. This is a one-time reset to make sure that everybody's feeling comfortable, both outside and inside state government, that we are fairly compensating our people. And I think educational attainment and experience are relevant to the extent that they have prepared you for the job function that you have. And again, I just don't know any other place where you would look at educational attainment and experience as the driver. It's the work that you're performing and the value that you're adding. And I'll just leave it at that, and we may just agree to disagree. My critique of these other studies is that they specifically exclude the position, which is, in my mind, the defining attribute of where compensation should start.
Mr. Chair, just leave with an example, which is a nurse. It's not unreasonable that nurses actually have their compensation based on years of experience and level of educational attainment. In fact, that's kind of a big part of what we do. And we actually employ a lot of nurses. We're not just talking about bureaucrats sitting in an office typing in numbers.